I think, the vinyl for me will always be the kind of, it's the ritualistic part of putting that record down, dropping the needle and hearing that music. And, it's it's not like streaming where you can just turn your computer on, do some work, and then put some music on at the same time. There's no ritual to it. There's no feeling or engagement or sensory experience like you do with records. Being the age I am, records were my first love, really. And I've still got many, many of those records from when I was a child. I've still got the first single my parents bought me. There was something about the ritual of taking out the vinyl from its sleeve. I don't know, it's a cliche, but the smell and the artwork and that, the fact that you had to sit down and make an effort to kind of engage with that music. Hi, my name's Matt Watson, and I'm a singer-songwriter, a producer, and a multi-instrumentalist. I grew up in rural Norfolk, just outside of Norwich, in a small market town called Wyndham. So I was benefited the privilege of being able to spend a lot of my time in the landscape, and the landscape here is arable farmland, woodland, big skies, big cinematic skies, and a beautiful, beautiful coastline. Something that has been an obsession of mine is the coast, is the sea, and the stories around that. So, yeah, I think landscape has definitely played a part in my music too. My surroundings and the spaces that I stand within definitely affect how I write and what I write about at times. Sands, white-tailed horses greet the land, and the trees, they talk to me. I hear whispers through the leaves, branches reaching out to breathe, but they don't know. Yeah, the landscape that I've grown up in has been a massive influence on my art. I think what I love about music the most is its ability to tell a story and to transport you somewhere else, really. It's, I guess books can do that, and I guess, visual art can do that, the films particularly, I guess, the moving image. But for me, music was the one thing that really, from a young age, transported me to other places. I was very inspired by being able to put a pair of headphones on and just lose myself in that world. Emotion for me in music is important as storytelling. If I can't listen to an artist if I don't feel emotionally connected in any way, and that doesn't matter what kind of music it is, but as long as I can gain some kind of emotional connection to that music or that voice or that song, and those are the kind of key elements for me. I think my love of prog rock, I know, some people say it's uncool to sit in this progressive rock thing, but the progressive rock music kind of took that classical world and that storytelling element from books and literature and film and kind of put these mini movies in my head. So my other passion was the kind of late 80s, early 90s alternative music scene. What was coming out of America at the time really, really caught my imagination. All very sort of different bands. The whole Seattle thing was really interesting to me. The college radio thing from America, REM, Sonic Youth, really, really kind of drew me into that guitar music world as well, and the more kind of straight ahead songwriting. But again, they had that passion, they had that emotion and in their performance that made a connection with me, that stuck with me. So there's these kind of two sides of what I listen to. I love all this storytelling and the progressive rock and the kind of weird, psychedelic, folky storytelling, but I also really, really connect with that emotional, loud guitars, passionate vocals and experimentation of that whole kind of alternative music scene. And that's one of the things I'm really enjoying about the Secret Helicopters at the moment, is that I'm trying to tell little stories and mini movies with the music, and kind of not caring about if it would be a hit single or a hit song. Just telling a story. With storytelling, just standing there and singing and not engaging, or not perhaps explaining an aspect of what you're about to sing about to the audience, seems kind of alien to me. And I almost think that the talking to the audience and telling the stories, and I like it when people, say things back, and I think it's important for a good performance that there's this almost like a loop of energy between the performer and the audience. Without that loop of energy, I find it can be quite a cold, sort of isolating experience.
Let's see if we can annoy the neighbours. And you keep on keeping my feet on the ground. Beautiful, louder. And you keep on keeping my feet on the ground. And you keep on keeping my feet on the ground. One more time. And you keep on keeping my feet on the ground. The ground, the ground. Louder. On the ground, the ground, the ground. Yeah. Thank you so much. You so very much.
Performance to me was important, and engaging an audience and entertaining as well as the art.
Gonna sing till my throat runs dry. Open these arms so that they are wide. Let's grab this life with both our hands. Let's jump this ship, swim back to land. Okay, that's the other thing you did, didn't you? So in your video clip, you kind of had a little booklet that you made with all the lyrics, and he did kind of dance moves, ladies and gentlemen. Do we want to see these dance moves?
Performance, thinking about what you're going to say.
But the thing I like about that song was it had a lot of percussion and things in the chorus, but I wanted like a cowbell, but I didn't have one. So all I could find in the house was one of these cast iron griddle frying pans. So I got a drumstick and hit that, and it sounded alright. And I've been listening to quite a bit of Tom Waits, to be fair. So I was kind of I thought that'd be brilliant. So that's what I did. And I like to think that maybe aside from Tom Waits records, this was the only song that was played on Radio 6 that had a frying pan. This is called Every Heartbeat.
Adding some drama and some kind of dynamics to your performance when you're playing songs live is particularly important. It was particularly important for me as a solo performer because I'm playing stripped down versions of the songs, and I'm playing just an acoustic guitar and me, so the tools that I've got are quite limited.
Can anyone trump, don't know, let's not talk about trump. Can anyone better than Hartlepool? Someone's going to shout, Glasgow! Where? Cool.
I think theatricality in music to me is something that at times we've lost, and again I guess this goes back to my kind of obsessions with artists like Peter Gabriel and Fish from Marillion or Kate Bush, Adam Ant, all these kind of people that were a larger than life character on stage, and I relate to that. Over the last few years, I've been performing as a solo artist, but over the period of lockdown, I developed a new project, which was a bit of a diversion from my normal style. In fact, I think you could describe it as a genre-hopping project, really. The Secret Helicopters. It mixes folk, indie, rock, prog, electronica, and anything else that takes my fancy when I'm writing stuff. Thoughts dragged into question, see darkness in the night, hate in every line, accusation. didn't enjoy school. I felt isolated because my interests were very alternative compared to. I wasn't into football. I was into skateboarding and cycling, and I was into music, and I was into science fiction and comic books and graphic novels, and I think that made me stand out slightly, and I would create stories in my head, and I was into art, and I loved visual art, and I was painting and drawing a lot. I think as musicians and artists, I think we all have a propensity to lose ourselves at times. It's, times have been particularly tough the last few years. The world's a faster moving place than ever, and I think mental health is key. Good mental health, and talking about it and being open about mental health for me is something that's very, very important. And I think that's why I've decided to, alongside the music degree that I've studied and my dissertation on mental health around being a creative, and I think creative is a better term than just saying a musician, because so many of us are more than just a musician or a songwriter. I know many artists that are visual artists. They enjoy creating video content or podcasts. And podcasts is one of the things that really interested me. And I decided that I would delve more into that and talk to creatives, find creatives and who are willing to talk, because I understand it's a difficult subject, but willing to talk about how they've dealt with the pitfalls of being a modern creative, social media, and there are pros and there are cons with that. And I guess just looking at how we navigate the world now as artists.
So I said, all right, I better take over so we can keep plugging all our work. And then you do every 10 minutes go, what's going on? What's going on?
Yeah.
And then that's the bit where it becomes, because if you have that, and I think obviously a lot of artists have quite an addictive personality anyway, in the way that they, and therefore you do become addicted to reading those things.
So I want to explore that, and I want to share that knowledge with others, because when I was younger, I wish it was around then, and it wasn't. Art is just as important at reflecting what society is at any given point and reflecting its positives and its negatives. I think art should do that, but I also think sometimes art should be a balm. It should be a calming influence and a way that we can escape the less desirable parts of life. What does the future hold? Well, I'm going to be doing my Masters, so there's that I've got to look forward to from this September, where I'm going to delve much deeper into the kind of the mental health discussion. I want to write a book, so I want to write a book about the relationship between mental health and creativity, and being an independent creative and having to use the kind of the internet and the tools that are there that are great, but can also have an adverse effect on your mental health. We all know about social media and how that can definitely have positives and unfortunately the negatives. So dealing with that in a healthy way is one of the things I really want to look at. I've got a whole host of music written. The Secret Helicopters stuff is pretty much finished. There's an album ready. And I've got a load of Matt Watson ideas as well, so I'm going to develop that over the year. The podcast, I really want the podcast to work, so I'm going to be putting some work into the podcast. Patreon as well. I need to find ways of funding that are more stable than just sort of crowdfunding one thing. I mean, I'll probably still crowdfund things like an album, but yeah, I think a Patreon, buy me a coffee, those kind of ways of funding I want to look at as well. But yeah, in general, I'm just, it's been a tough 18 months to 2 years with COVID and everything else. So I'm just trying to, I've had my down times, I've had my depressed, dark moments, but I think the future is looking good in a lot of ways, and I think we just have to kind of make our own future. So yeah, that's why I decided to go on from a degree and do an MA. And yeah, I'm just feeling really positive about what might come along in the next sort of year or so. So yeah, the future's looking bright, I hope. And more Secret Helicopters, more Matt Watson music, podcast, some videos for YouTube, hopefully. lots of creativity and lots of focusing in on positivity and well-being.